and just start out by welcoming everybody. And we'll go through this, and I promise we will be done in an hour. So, um, appreciate everybody being here tonight. I know it's kind of a low attendance with 9 people, but I think that recording is usually viewed by about 10 to 12 people when we record it, so that expands our reach. And it is the holiday season, and always tough to get people together now. So we'll make this valuable for everybody and quick in time. So as of today, we have 50 new members, or I'm sorry, 800 total members to include those members on the list. 50 of them have been new within the last 9 months. So I think that's a very good thing within the last 9 months, to get 50 people uh, interested in becoming members of Veterans in Farming, I think is great. A little bit about the financials. So for the conference, we have a commitment of $2,000 from Indiana Grown, and we're working on getting that commitment closed financially and getting the money in our accounts. And just last week, I got a note from Farm Aid, thanks to Sarah Creech and the work she did with the Farm Aid event. They've committed doing a $500 sponsorship for the conference in January. So those two are fantastic. Hopefully, that's probably about half the cost of the conference, and we can cover the rest with um, um, ticketing and registration. So right now we have about $700 for the conference in payments that have come in. We have about 31 people enrolled. Not everybody has paid the extra $40 for the difference in that income is I think my reoccurring $20 donation I do every month just to make sure the system is still going. Um, we did have some expenditure for Farm Aid and for Jack's Farm and Veterans Day. Actually, that expenditure in Farm Aid was probably reported last month. It's actually $890 for some work at Jack's Farm and then the Veterans Day event. So we have about $1,400 remaining. I think we're on track to be at zero balance for the conference with the numbers and stuff, but we'll wait and see. I figure if we have just right now, if we have 31 people attending and the conference at $100 a ticket, most of that covering registration and meals. That's about $3,000 in meals, and that's about in the end um, what I think we projected kind of the cost for meals to be. And then we'll have other things there. I hate to say like things like, well, I'll colloquial say things like bling, t-shirts, other things to sell. So that should go out. Plus, I know John is doing some work with distributing our flyers for donations as well as some other people. So that's kind of where we stand financially. John, did you want to speak to the couple of grants you're doing?
I have a deadline of the 15th for this next one. We're waiting to hear back on the other ones. Um, so bear with me as I write them out. They're fun. We did not get the USDA one that had a pop up, so it's no biggie. We weren't counting on that one, so I'll keep you guys informed as we keep going forward on these.
Okay, super. And the one that we most recently looked at is the Indiana Department of Veterans Affairs Partnership Grant, and that is being partner sponsors on events like their golf outing and other things that we'll see how that turns out. There's usually big name organizations that do that, but with 800 people and our growth going on, I think we're going to be a big name in Indiana soon ourselves. So that's great. I'm working with USDA through Addie's Orchard on the Equity and Conservation Outreach Grant. And that will support Jack's Farm and Porter Farm. And for those people that are maybe new, Jack's Farm and Porter Farm are the two farms that have veterans on it that we use for training. The Equity and Conservation Outreach Grant will allow us to demonstrate hands on the NRCS programs. that we either A, can do on the farm, and B, are within the NRCS purview and likely to be requested by veterans. So right now, for an example, and then I'll let Sarah do the updates on Porter Farm and Jack's Farm. Um, we just did a review at Jack's Farm, and there's even things at NRCS that I don't know about. So NRCS EQIP program has about 300 to 350 programs in it to include. I just recently found out from their new outreach person, Brianna Lowe, foraging, which could equate to bee work. And also, they have one for rain gardens, which will help us. If you remember a couple meetings ago, we talked about Jack's Farm, going to do some work on it, and we weren't able to, but rain gardens is involved there too. So, really learning a lot myself about NRCS, and hopefully in the next month or so, as the scope of work gets solidified, we'll be able to put out a reoccurring calendar of events, probably about one a month for about 10 months at both Porter Farm in Danville and Jack's Farm. And Sarah, did you want to add anything to that or talk about what's going on there?
I don't actually have anything to add, just that we're continuing to make plans to develop both of the farms. And then hopefully do some education through the winter. It's kind of hard to do a lot of building and growing through the winter, but we've got big plans for the spring. So
Thank you. And then also at Jack's Farm, I didn't know this, but NRCS will also do, I'm going to say the word wrong, but I want to call it hydrology surveys or water surveys on your property. So NRCS came out to Jack's Farm today, came out with an ATV, drove around, and did a really good water survey for drainage for the farm too. So that's moving. Both of those are moving forward. And Sarah, I talked to Miranda, and I'll tell you, she's a ball of energy when it comes to talking about Porter Farm.
yeah, for sure. They both are.
Yeah, they're excited. They're both our veterans at Porter Farm, and it's good to hear their energy there. And I every so often, and I have considered, and I would come back to this group. Do get outreach of other farms that might be available. I first of all would talk to Sarah because it all goes on her plate as she's driving at midnight back from farms. But we do get more outreach and more opportunity out there. So if we can figure out how to work that into the plan, more than happy to do it. And I know James, down in the south, I think you're excited about trying to do something down there in the future, correct? Okay, well maybe James didn't hear me, but James Harrod is our kind of southern regional captain. James, I see you're off mute now.
Yeah, you called me James. That threw me off for a little minute there. Yeah, I mean, Scott and I talked about that. I mean, with deer season, that kind of held me for a loop here. I've been a little busy. I'm really tired of deer season, people. But Scott, he's a ball of fire. I don't know if you met him or not, but man, that boy, he can talk. He's got a lot of good ideas. I just got to figure out how to do it.
Well, let me know, and I'm still waiting for the deputy commander at Crane Naval Weapons Station, who's in the organization as well, John, to let me know a good date to go visit Crane. Crane has reached out to help us as well, either do a veteran event there or, try to do a sensing session of both the population of Crane that are veterans that may want to go into farming, but then a lot of the DoD civilians at Crane
Yeah.
are farmers. So it's an interesting blend that we might be able to get into there.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been over there. I mean, I need to go over there for the commissary and exchange. I figured with a retiree ID, I could be able to get on, and I got my driver's license, and the truck would be able to get on. So, I mean, I can go to the commissary with my ID, but Man, if you get a point of contact and where to and when, I'll be more than glad to run over. It's not that far, just the other side of Bedford for me.
Yeah, once I get a solid date, we'll go down there and visit them.
Be cool. Be cool. I ain't been over there for a while, so
Sweet. I am an old ammo guy myself, and I've never been on the Naval Weapons Station, so it'll be kind of interesting. I've been to a lot of ASPs, but not that one.
well, I interviewed there a long time ago for internship when I was going through Ivy Tech, but that was the day I interviewed. That's the day they put a ceiling or a height on all hires. So I haven't been over, but I dealt with them when I worked on NICAD batteries too. They was a depot for NICAD batteries.
I see. Cool. So, some of the opportunities that are continuing that I just like to highlight is the Soil and Water Outcome Fund. Now they're going to, they met with me and discussed, hey, we appreciate the support you guys have given us. I think we had a couple veterans making decisions on whether they were going to participate in the Soil and Water Outcome Fund's conservation practices, and we had one person or one veteran farm commit to it already. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then they want to continue the relationship because they're extending and expanding kind of what they do. So I'm kind of sensing out what the opportunities are with the Soil and Water Outcome Fund. But it is still open. I believe they're still making decisions, and they are going to be at the conference in January as well. The discrimination financial assistance program, if you know anybody that felt like they were discriminated from getting a loan, and I believe there's a time frame to it, they can check out that website or give me a shout on my Purdue email, Ricker2, any email, but my Purdue one is the one that I'll push it to Ed Sheldon at Purdue Agribility, who's kind of leading this. So that is still open for, I think, another week or two, maybe into January. But they are taking applications for anybody, to include veterans, that feel they were discriminated against to get a loan, and one of the categories is veterans. So if you have any questions on that, you're welcome to shout out or give me an email or something. Indiana Ag Vets, I think almost everybody, if they're not, will be enrolled in the Indiana Ag Vet grant. We want to bolster that number as best we can so that when they resubmit next spring, that they have, a good population to do it. January 19 through 21 is the conference at Fair Oaks. We'll talk more about that. I'm going to do the Honeybee Expo the first week in January. If I get the opportunity, I'll see if I can, send out something through the email on that and invite people to come with. If anybody's interested in the details on that, let me know. Again, it's not far at all. It's just down in Kentucky. And then the Agribility National Training Workshop is March 25th through the 28th in Grand Height, Atlanta, Buckhead, Georgia. Everybody is welcome to go to that through the stipend process with Ag Vets. They have not given out the registration process, cost, or stipend process yet. They anticipate that the stipend process will probably be everything minus travel. So they expect, but not official yet, for it to probably be food, lodging, and ticket. But they're going to ask the veteran to do their own travel, and that's just to put a little bit of skin in the game. And then lastly, I'm asking for a volunteer. If anybody wants to do the Wish TV spot that I signed us up for on January 6th from 6 to 10 a.m. in Indianapolis. If you've not done Wish TV before, I did it with the Roaches before, and then I did it for Addie's Orchard this year. It would be specific to veterans and farming, but like with the Roaches, it's hard to talk about just veterans and farming as a whole. So someone is welcome to take that spot, talk about veterans and farming, and then talk about what they do as a veteran that farms. So when we did the Roaches, they do poultry and other items in a farmer's market to the south I forget what county, but I believe it was in the southeast side of Indiana. And it worked out really nice. It's, hey, I'm a farmer. I'm in the veterans and farming, and this is what I do. And then the other person there, or even the same person, could say, this is what veterans and farming does. I think we got about 90 members from that TV spot. And it's always useful. So is anybody that's on the line right now, and I'll give you a first shot because you're on the line, is anybody interested in covering that Wish TV spot on January 6th? I'll call out a few people. Leslie, have you thought about it?
Volunteer for everything.
Um, thinking.
Okay, well, keep thinking and let me know. I was thinking of you or Forrest. Forrest, I don't know how built up your agritourism area is, but I didn't know if you thought that'd be valuable for you too.
We,
Oh,
we
Oh, yeah,
definitely-
it'd be wonderful.
Yeah, we've definitely thought about it. It's kind of an intimidating endeavor, quite frankly. I mean, we could certainly talk, but again, I would have to consult with my boss.
The wife?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, before I
We-
could agree to something like that.
We used to call them household six. No, but if anybody wants it, Leslie and Forrest, I just thought of you, knowing that your farms are maybe in a position other people's aren't. And if anybody else, if I'm wrong, please jump in. Sarah, I know you love a little PR there as well, so. But it is not as bad as you would think. It is really, you get there, I think the report time at the Wish TV location in Indianapolis is about 6:30. I was surprised when I did the two of them, mainly because it does not look like you would expect it to look like. It is very, when you go into their where they do the news at, if you've never been in there, it's the cameras are all robots. There's no people behind the cameras anymore. It's all joystick controlled. And there's just a lot of activity that you just don't see on TV. It's a very interesting experience. And then they mic you up. They ask you, kind of ask you what they should ask you so you can prepare questions. And the lady there, I don't remember her name, it's the same one both times. She's extremely nice and she's very professional, and she'll ask you kind of leading questions as well. So if you guys wanted help with the questions or anything like that, I'm more than happy to help, or get you with somebody that's maybe a professional to help you. So just Leslie, Forrest, or anybody else, think about it and let me know if you're interested in.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you hear all that too, Leslie?
Yes, sir. I'm not gonna do it without Phil though, because I don't feel comfortable representing the organization without the actual veteran.
And I'm not photogenic.
Okay.
So we're negotiating.
Okay. Let Phil know they don't put any makeup on you, so he'll be okay.
You're gonna help.
So I'll go on for that, but if we could get somebody else, I'm going to be at the B conference, and again, I think to Phil's point, some people, I'm not as photogenic as Phil is, so I figured he'd do better than me. But it's an opportunity, and I just think it'd be great to do that. Okay, veterans and farming, where we're going with some grants. Brad, who is our visiting scholar at Purdue and working with AgriAbility, is doing the farm to school grant. That's due mid-January. Brad, since you're on the line, did you want to say anything about farm to school or the grant, or your thoughts on that for the group?
Sure. First of all, the title visiting scholar is way more important than I think it actually is. It's actually my skill bridge. But Purdue had to come up with a formal name. So yeah, the grant, just to put a bug in folks' ears, If we get awarded, we're basically going to be looking to see how can we get more veteran farmer participation and opportunities in the farm to school program. So, and we're going to look at what does that mean, participation in that program, and what are the interest levels both among veteran farmers and schools. So finishing up or working on that grant now, and then at the conference next month, we should be talking about it in a little more detail once we get it fleshed out. So if you have interest in that, please join us for that conversation, so we can hear your interest and ideas and how to implement that if we get awarded that grant. Over.
Thanks. And so on that grant too, we met with Brianna Good. Her husband is an Air Force veteran, and she'll be at the conference as well and able to talk, if we don't get the grant, of kind of the opportunities for veteran farms to provide produce to schools. You know, the interesting thing that I think I have not thought through, but she has told me, is that a lot of you don't need to necessarily provide an item for the school or a produce item for the school that's going to last even an entire meal. They have like apple days where they taste locally grown apples. So maybe it's just one item. Brad and I talked about, maybe just carrots for a supplement item from a farm. So it does not have to be a huge quantity. And depending on the school and the process, it may or may not have to meet HACCP requirements for farm safety as well. It may just have to meet farmers market cottage levels. So it's really kind of an interesting area that I think Brad's hands-on touch will, as a planning grant, will kind of help us marry some veteran farms to putting produce into schools. Next one is the specialty crop grant. We're looking with Locust Farms out here in Knightstown of doing a grant for maple syrup. So kind of the concept on that is that the first year will be people under the AgVet stipend going and learning maple syrup production from Patrick McCarthy, who is Lace's husband. Lace McCarthy's our Purdue Extension person here in Hancock County. So they have a very robust maple syrup production in the winter, probably starting about Valentine's Day, lasting about a month. And so the veteran will learn from that. And then our goal is, if we get the specialty crop grant a year from that, being able to continue with Patrick as a mentor for them, and then be able to give them the opportunity for equipment. So we would have kind of a preset trailer of equipment and say, here's your stuff, in military terms, sign for it. And then have them go out and do maple syrup for their own production. And, to start out maple syruping, it's quite a bit when you come to evaporators, trying to find maple trees, the tubing, how to do it, reverse osmosis processes to get the water out. So we're looking at the opportunity of maybe taking away a few of those hurdles with that specialty crop grant. More to follow. We submitted kind of that concept to ISDA in their review process in December, and they'll come back with comments, and in January we'll know more about that. Had another veteran reach out about hydroponics. So we did a little bit of research on hydroponics, and there is the Urban Agriculture and Innovation Production. I just sent an email, and I'm talking to Jamie Perry, who's with NRCS and used to do hydroponics up in Ivy Tech. I believe it was either in Muncie or Fort Wayne. He did that for the school up there, and seeing if we can try to get hydroponics into that. That grant has not even been advertised yet. And then you have the Resilient Food System grant. That grant is going to probably focus on farm to point of consumption, whether it's restaurant or grocery store. And we're waiting for some more details from Indiana State Department of Ag on that. And then we just saw the food safety outreach competitive grant. I know with food safety, it's sometimes a challenge to overcome. So we're thinking through ways of trying to get after in a good way that people will be involved in, not just PowerPoint slides, kind of a hands-on food safety process, but still brainstorming on that and interested in any comments you guys have on those 5 areas. Any thoughts on those 5 areas? Okay, well, if you think of them afterwards or after you watch the video, let me know. More than happy to have a conversation on them or take away some expertise. I think if you put in for 5 grants, we would be lucky to get 2, maybe 3 of them. I would not expect us to get all 5 of them. So, you got to put in, you got to take the shot to hit the target. So we're going to take a couple shots this year and maybe hit a few targets. We did really well, I think, with the NRCS cooperative grant partnership grant. So we'll see if we can get some traction with one of these 5 areas, which I think we can get focused on supporting veterans. We still have every Tuesday of the month, 6, I believe I have the wrong time on there. I think it's 6:30 is the conference planning. You'll get the invite to that. You'll see that on the website. And then Jim, did you have any other thoughts on the region down there in the south or other captains?
No, not really. I mean, it's, again, I was just trying to get through deer season. I mean, I had encroachment real bad. I ain't had the sheriff out and the DNR and all this good stuff. So I've been kind of overwhelmed on that, but maybe I'll get touch base with Scotty again. And I don't know, Forrest, I don't know if I could run over to Crane. I mean, I wouldn't mind slipping in seeing your operation if that's possible.
Oh,
Give me
yeah, anytime. Yeah, we're about 2.5 hours from Crane. So we're almost straight north. If you go 231 up to 32 and hang a right, that'll be.
okay. I thought you were around Bloomington. Crane
No,
in that.
no. Yeah, no, we're about 2.5 hours north of Crane.
Okay. I used to go to Elnora for the tractor shows, the antique tractor shows. I know the area a little bit. I hadn't been over that way for a while, but any other people over that way, I don't know. All the people in the southern group, maybe I could slip in and see somebody on the way in or way out or something. But anyway, yeah, push it. I mean, I really look forward to go over that way and see what they got.
Okay. If you want to put together a note, maybe you want us to send via email to contact you, or, like we talked about, a meeting after deer season and the holidays, maybe we could put something together and send it out for everybody to either give you a call or meet someplace.
I mean, Scott's the only one I know of. Then that lady over in Madison, Stephanie, has anything ever happened to her? I've never heard anything more about it.
I tried to give her a shout today. I don't know if she's busy. Everybody has life events, and so
Okay.
I'll try to follow up with her.
Well, when you come down to Louisville, give me a holler. I'll meet you over at the expo.
Okay.
I'll go, that'd be a good time to chit chat. Anybody else coming that way? It's not that far from me, just across the river. So.
Okay, great. Hey, I'll just turn back to Brad real quick. Leslie put in the chat, can farm to school include meat? And honestly, I don't know, Brad, but that's actually kind of interesting. Rabbit meat, that she does. And Forrest said he can offer pork, lamb, goat, or chicken. I don't know if you wanted to look at that part of it, Brad, if it can include meat.
Yeah, absolutely. We can look into that. I mean, I think the whole point of kind of doing the grant is seeing what the opportunities are. I mean, obviously we can look into what some opportunities are outside of that grant if people want to get involved. Because there is, I mean, farm to school is a thing already. Kind of the idea was just to do some veteran specific outreach and getting folks more involved. So 100% we can add that in. And like Joe mentioned, if we don't get the funding for it, it doesn't mean we can't look into this stuff and try to get folks connected with the current state program and find out what those requirements are.
Super. Thanks, Brad. So, onto the workshop real quick. So the hotel closes December 20th, and I'm gonna have to close ticket sales by January 8th. And that's mainly for, so that we can get a head count for meals to the hotel. So please, sign up, hopefully by Christmas. You need a hotel, make your reservation by December 20th. And it would be great. I kind of think with the numbers we have now, we're probably in a good projection, hopefully to get 50 people there, and that would be wonderful. So 50 people, I think, would be a really great start for our first conference.
One thing about the conference is VFW has advertised it on their website, and I do know that it went out to District 7 in an email to all leadership and our VFW members.
Super. Thank you, John.
I did see on Indiana Veterans newsletter came out that our flyers in there.
Yep. And Hoosier Ag put it out, I think,
Okay.
as well. I duplicated that on Facebook, and we're getting good PR. I mean, we're getting it out there. Yep, we're getting it out there. So we'll just see. I think a little bit is going to be, I've had about 2 or 3 emails asking what the content's going to be. So by the end of this week, I didn't want to send out an email about it the same time that the system automatically produced an email about it. So I'll probably by the end of this week, send out to the membership both a reminder and maybe a little bit more solid agenda, so those people that don't attend the meeting can see the value in attending. So I'm going to throw up there the agenda real quick, and I'm going to go through the 3 kind of lanes, and it needs a little bit of work. I have a few emails pending on it, but right now, Abron Andrews is going to do intro to business planning. He's going to talk about the business canvas. He said I could cut down his hours. I need to look at that a little bit and how that balances out. But he's from VetBiz, and I think the value of Abron is they're the ones that would do, if we wanted to, a local boots to business for farmers. So if that's a future desire, Abron and VetBiz are the ones that are the nonprofit supported by the VA grant to do boots to business. And I think that's something if our membership wanted, we could consider doing in the future, a boots to business specific for farmers. So then we have the break. Caroline Patrick, I've sent her a note to see if 30 minutes is enough or if she wants more. But she's going to talk about Indiana Grown. That includes the Farmer Veteran Coalition and USDA's Homegrown by Heroes with Indiana Grown. It includes probably the state farmers market that Indiana Grown does, as well, State Fair Farmers Market, as well as they're going and doing some outreach now. If you've been to the airport lately, they have an Indiana Grown section at the airport. So she's going to talk about some of the marketing opportunities and experiences she has. And she's got some really great connections and discussion points there. And they have a conference themselves in March under Indiana Grown, if anybody's interested in that, which is usually a very good and informative conference focused on, state things. I talked to Brianna Lowe the other day. We're going to talk through probably about an hour before lunch, an hour after lunch on NRCS opportunities like the EQIP and the like, and all those programs that are available to veterans. And then after lunch, we'll probably, and we may change this out a little bit on USDA grants. So some of those grants we talked about, what's available. So the intent of the beginning farmer agenda is really, hey, I don't have property. I'm kind of interested in becoming a farmer, and to give them kind of those baseline ideas of, where to go after they get their business plan together and what are their, resources on it as well. So we have a little bit of marketing, which is in the canvas. And then we have some of the resourcing available through partnership with NRCS, and we'll talk through some of those. And then we have Sarah Lessie and Alan Fuhrer committed to talking about their products and kind of a roundtable. So give that veteran farmer that's in the beginning farmer kind of thought process. How do I do? What do I want to do? An opportunity with 3 professionals that are in different areas of farming that they could talk to and say, how do you do this or how do you do that? So I think that's another great discussion point. It'll be a break. And then Sarah Hansen, who's with Purdue's Diversified DFSS, and it's Diversified Farm Systems. I forgot the other S. She's going to talk about educational opportunities at Purdue. Little bit not exactly like what we initially talked about with Master Gardeners, but more about their Get Go program and some of the things that you can turn to Purdue to get educational assistance with, whether it's training or like their pest lab or other things. So Sarah's going to talk about that. Sarah Hansen will. And then Craig Stevenson's going to talk about a half hour on some of the land or real estate challenges. And then I may move Betty Fang, and that's why things are changing. She kind of needs an earlier time. And she's going to talk about food safety. And it's not going to be, all the details of a HACCP plan or a other things. She's going to talk about the basic stuff I asked her to talk about. Where does food safety play a role? What is ServSafe? What is a HACCP plan? What is, who to go to ask questions to? So very basic stuff there, not the details of can I do a facility to butcher rabbits. So again, it's basics for somebody who's never been in the farm world before. And then we're going to do dinner, a membership meeting, and need to talk to the board a little bit about, voting. It would be good to have kind of maybe a few other positions voted on, and we'll do a membership meeting towards the end of Saturday. And then on Sunday, for anybody who wants to sign up for it, Fair Oaks has a very robust adventure area where you can take kids through almost like a farm science museum area, and they're welcome to do that on Sunday. So on the farming options, so this is more diverse on maybe the thought is I have a farm, I don't know what I want to do next. We'll have Dylan Riles from Purdue talk about beekeeping and Heroes to Hives. John, he's committed to talking to rabbits. I think we're going to go with sustainable farming, maybe soil and water outcome fund I meet with next week, but it's going to be, something along the lines of, ground and how do you do sustainable farming as a practice with composting and things. I'm just not sure soil and water outcome fund is that, so that may change a little bit. Agro-tourism, Forrest, you're going to be available to talk about that. Cortland Carrington said he would talk about mushrooms. I'm still working on those next 2 time slots. I have a due out to talk to Joe. He's got a new baby. And I'm not sure if we're going to keep sheeps and goats. And only because I don't, besides the farmers that are on the call right now, especially Leslie and Sarah, I don't know a lot of sheep and goat farmers. And the time I thought was kind of backing up to a little bit about your roundtable. So if I can break that off a little bit, I might ask Leslie or Sarah if you guys had any good presentation on sheeps and goats, or, Leslie, I see you often post about rabbits and some soil stuff online that Purdue never hits that you would like to hit. Do you want to talk about that real quick, and maybe we can fit that in under sustainable farming? What are your thoughts?
What kind of stuff were you thinking, Joe? Like post about?
So every so often I'll post about a Purdue event, and you'll always, and I can't think of how you caveat it very nicely. Why don't they talk about this?
Oh gosh. I'm not sure I have a favorite topic. There's things I think I would love to see them do stuff on, especially parasites and parasite identification. But that's probably more than we can get into here, but we could think about it, bring a microscope, have people actually look at stuff, but I don't know how many of our participants are actually working with animals.
Yeah, I got sheep and goats here, so if you need something like that, I can help with that too.
Yeah, and maybe it's not more sheep and goats, but Leslie, you also post every so often about sustainable farming.
I just can't think of what you're talking about, but I'm happy to help in whatever seems interesting or useful.
Okay, let me do some thoughts on that and see if I can pull that together.
Yeah.
And I hear you, Forrest, and I appreciate your offer as well.
I mean, one thing I'd like to get people thinking about are like, especially like the livestock guardian dogs and integrated, predator management and stuff like that. And people get the dogs, but they don't know what to do with them.
Well, the Great Pyrenees, they're very good herd dogs.
Yeah.
Usually most people keep them out with their animals.
Mm-hmm.
And row crops and stuff, there's going to be a big push for cover crops through the winter, and vertical tillage, getting to be more in the lines of sustainable farming. Donkeys are very good for coyotes and stuff, and also keep the black vultures off. But the Great Pyrenees, they're very good at what they do.
You make great points, James. I think there's just increasing. I see this with the SARE and the SARE kind of grant applications from our region, that people are really interested in integrated, like what integrated plants and animals. So if it's like, I want to have a vineyard, but maybe you could consider, there's a lot of pest issues there that sometimes dogs can be helpful with. So and certainly integrating grazing with crops. So that, I think that's kind of really where we are now. What's hot now is that kind of thinking about these things is connected.
Yeah, we use those sustainable practices here as well. And it's kind of interesting. Our security stance here is we have a combination of alpacas, donkeys, and geese, in which they all kind of have their own piece of the security system. And then as far as like your chicken flock, we found that if you have at least 25% of your chickens being black, the aerial predators mistake them for crows, and they won't harass you as much. So I mean, I agree with you all, you guys.
Yeah, there's lots of great techniques.
Cool things. Yeah.
I mean, one thing I'm often trying to bring up is that for people who want to grow plant crops, it's really hard to do that without animals, in terms of like, especially not being dependent on purchasing lots of fertilizer. And so I think maybe Joe, maybe that's what you're thinking. I'm often posting, like, think about, in terms of landscape management and crop production, bringing animals into the picture, like cattle, sheep, goats for grazing and for fertilizer can be really helpful.
There's more study of keeping cattle on a paddock for no more than a week and rotate them out. Then you can go in with cover crops or row crops after that. And they're finding out that it's very similar to old ways of how we used to farm.
Absolutely.
I mean, farmers that kept farms 100 years, they kind of knew what they was doing.
Well, and they didn't have all the spray fertilizers, did they? They had
No.
fertilizers and things like
It's
that.
natural fertilizer. I mean, all the pesticides, I'm really against all that, but it's kind of the way I was taught how to farm by my grandfather. Because I'm third generation farmer, so, but kind of listen to the old guys a little bit,
So Leslie, what I was thinking of, and I just found your comments on Facebook was, like some of the up and coming fertilizer and alternatives like rabbit berries and wool pellets. And
Mhm.
I don't know. Think about if you want to try to. I mean, we got a little bit of time, and that's probably interesting to a lot of the audience. If you want to pull together some thoughts on that, and maybe take an hour slot someplace, that might be interesting. I don't know what to call it yet, but
Maybe something about more integrative farm practices.
integrated farm practices. I kind of like that. Yeah, I think so. Anybody think that would be an interesting or not an interesting topic?
Yes, all wholeheartedly. And that's kind of, if you go on websites like Understanding Ag, and some of the Nebraska studies and all that stuff under the SARS, that's how I found them. But I, you know, it's kind of not a bad way to look at it.
So let me,
Yeah, I
let me,
agree. I'm super interested in that.
why don't we, what I think I'm gonna do for now, pending any changes is try to give you this hour right here between 6:30 or 4:30 and 5:30. Sorry for the military time. And we'll call it integrated into, I'll spell it wrong, but I'll figure it out, farm practices. And Leslie, can you lead that discussion?
Sure can.
Okay. Does Phil need to be there too?
No, but he will be.
Well,
Uh,
Leslie, I can help you a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, that would be
what do
great.
I know.
Yep,
It-
that'd be great.
and maybe it's more of a roundtable discussion.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, hey, I do this and hey, I do that. Kind of have that discussion. That'd be very interesting. Okay. So I'll put that on there, and I'm still kind of going to work through these other two a little bit, and I'm not too worried about them because if we drop them, we still have beginning farming topics and other topics on the other lane. So at the end, we're going to do workshop comments and a survey to see where we can improve, and then dinner and membership meeting like the other one. Now on the advanced business one, um, I asked Betty to give kind of a real detailed food safety and more detail on really how do you do a HACCP plan and what is a HACCP plan, and beyond serve safe and what do I need to do on my farm and how do I get those real thick resources for me to get my product to the next level. And so we'll see where I can take Betty with time on that, and I probably will move her around. We are going to have a discussion, and it may not come out clearly on this, but I'll fix it on Indiana Farm to School program with Brianna and Brad, and that will mainly be both opportunity and what we want to do at the next level for the grant. Monty Henderson's going to talk about farm economics. Lunch, he's going to talk a little bit about farming in QuickBooks and accounting basics for farming. Kimber's going to talk about farm stress. We're going to do a grant working group, and so maybe that changes a little bit with the farm to school discussion. We'll put Brad down over at the other one. That's what I was thinking. Brad and Brianna for the farm to school, but maple syrup and hydroponics. And really what I think this hour block here is really going to be a sensing session for, hey, I'd love to be involved in that, but this is my worry. Hey, I would like to be involved in that. This is where I think I need to go with it. So as an organization, we can really find out what the membership wants, and maybe the people that are going to lead these areas take away a few phone numbers and people to get to the next level. We gave that actually hour and a half, and then Caroline Patrick is if she confirms that she only needs a half hour, we'll do an Indiana grown, and then we have workshop and dinner meeting stuff. So I'll throw this out there for about a minute. We got about 4 minutes left, and see if anybody has any thoughts or comments on are we in a good direction, a bad direction? My only concern now is that we get, really that value of people there that really need it. I think we've doubled the number from previous agribility workshops, so I'm pretty happy with that. And looking forward to the comments and survey and where we take it next year. So, any thoughts on these areas between beginning farmer options or anything I mentioned about the conference?
So, as I mentioned in my message, maybe I can write something about goats up for Mike to brief, and we can go from there.
Okay,
For
no,
the
that'd be awesome.
So just a thought. I mean, we're not experts by any means, but we have lived with goats, and we can actually talk like Leslie said about the livestock guardian dogs, and also using using donkeys as guardians, which is not really recommended. And then also she mentioned something about fecal analysis. We can maybe talk a little bit about that as well. We don't know anything about sheep, but I wouldn't want to focus on them.
Okay, can you bring one of those cute little sheep, one of those cute little goats with you?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay. And so maybe I can break that out a little bit for a 30-minute. Hey, this is sheep's, and maybe Forrest, you said you had sheep, right?
We had
Yes,
goats.
sir.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Sorry.
So maybe I can break up that time. I'll shoot you guys an email as I think about that and kind of solidify the times.
Okay.
But appreciate that. Okay, let me go back to the slides real quick. So that's all I had. Tammy, I think you wanted to say a few words as well about your goats.
Yes, I was just gonna say I have goats available due to some health issues. I'm no longer going to be able to raise my goats, so we're trying to find homes for them. Preferably, I know Forrest talked about meat, so we don't preferably wouldn't want them to be eaten, but we have 5 males and 8 females. And we also, I suppose, need to find new homes for our livestock guardian dogs. They're Maremma sheepdogs, which they look just like Great Pyrenees, but they're a little smaller. We have a male and a female, and actually our male is not purebred, but our female is. So you can talk if you know anybody that's looking for an LGD or goats, we could use a new home for them.
Well, we don't, we have meat goats and we have dairy goats, so we don't process all our goats. So
Okay, that's good. Well, do you want some?
well,
We
it
have
depends on what kind you have, because we're
they're
looking for,
Nigerian dwarf goats.
okay,
I
yeah,
forgot to mention that part.
yeah, let me talk to my wife, and I don't know that I have your contact information, but let me talk to her and we'll see, because I know we have Nigerian dwarfs as well. And
Okay.
we have a buck here, but I don't like crossing bloodlines, so maybe we can work something out.
Yeah, great. You can get my contact info from Joe if you
Okay.
want.
Yep, okay,
Thank you.
Doesn't Scott Scanlon have goats or not? I know he had quail. Just a thought.
Who's that? Scott?
Joe Scanlon up in Seymour or
Oh,
Columbus.
Joe Scanlon. Okay.
Just a thought. I don't know. I didn't talk to him for a while.
Okay, awesome. we'll continue on with looking for opportunities. Any other last comments or any thoughts how we're doing, or anything else we should be doing differently, better or worse?
This is Brad. I'd just throw out there, and as the new guy to the group, maybe this is tried before, maybe you guys do it, but wanted to offer up like a regional meetup for anybody. Like I'm in Indianapolis, so central Indiana, like periodic, maybe once a month, just kind of get together, have some drinks or whatever, and just do some face to face and network and talk. If anybody's interested, I can put something on Facebook or something like that. Just throwing it out there.
No,
Well, Scott,
that's awesome. Brad.
that's what I want to do in South Central, but I ain't had a chance to do it yet.
And so I
Okay.
think,
Well,
I-
I'll try to put something together, and I'll throw it out there and try to get the word out. So anybody who's within close enough distance, they feel like they'd want to come to, Indy or somewhere around Indy. We'll try to make something happen.
so I would throw out there too, based upon what it is, if Brad, if you want to come back, or like I offered to you, Jim, is, if you want to come back with a cost for breakfast or something like that, I can see if Agribility would pay for some food or something like that. Sometimes they have donations that are available. So if we don't at Veterans in Farming, I'm more than happy to ask Purdue.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other thoughts out there? Okay, I appreciate everybody's time this evening. And I think I have a task to try to wrestle some chickens for Sarah right now. So I'm gonna go off and do that. And Sarah, I'll let you know how it turns out.